Ray Fittipaldo of the Post-Gazette joins us now. Ray is brought to you by LGKG, the born and raised Western PA injury attorneys who take your personal injury cases personally. Good morning to you, Ray. How's it going today, buddy?
Good morning, guys. I'm doing well.
Happy to hear it. Ray, your takeaways from what you've heard out of the NFL owners' meetings. Omar Khan, Mike Tomlin, Art Rooney II, all speaking. Just generally speaking, your biggest takeaway, and then we'll narrow down.
I guess it was probably what Art said yesterday about, we'll wait a little while longer. So it seems like he was the first person really within the organization to, not put his foot down, but he basically said, we're not going to wait forever. So, is that weeks? Is that months? I kind of figure it's going to be wrapped up before the draft gets here, but this whole thing has been unpredictable, and I guess we're just going to have to wait to see how it plays out.
Ray, I think this has been done. I think that there's a handshake agreement, maybe a verbal agreement. Honestly, why would he take the time to go work out with DK Metcalf? Is that just for show? Why would he go do that if he wasn't going to be the quarterback of the Steelers?
Much less fly here, him requesting to visit here, to fly here. I guess the only question I would have, Doran, is why don't you just sign? There's nothing saying you have to, show up here and be in the weight room with the guys in March and April. He doesn't have to do that. But, yeah, I'm with you. I think this is pretty close to being done. And for whatever reason, the signing is actually being delayed. But, I think he's going to be the quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers here this season.
Yeah, have you ever heard Art speak so definitively about a non-Steeler before? That really stuck out to me, Ray.
Yeah, no one in the organization talks about outside free agents. They've never done that. It's against the rules when the season's going on and when these guys are under contract with other teams. Rodgers is an exception here because he's been released, so there's nothing illegal about it. But you're right. Mike sort of took the road that we're not going to really comment on guys. I guess they eventually got it out of him that there was a visit there. But it seems like Art is comfortable. I don't know if I want to say confident, but it seems like he's comfortable that this is going to happen.
So when he says they're going to wait, but they can't wait forever, what do you think would be the appropriate line in the proverbial sand?
Well, that depends. If there's a handshake, wink and nod agreement, then, the actual signing doesn't mean anything. But if they truly don't know, I think the draft, that week of the draft, late April 24th through 27th, that would be the line for me. If they don't truly know by then you got to make some plans. Would you consider a guy in the first round then, or would you still stick with what we think the plan is and probably drafting that guy in the third or fourth round to be a developmental guy? So I think the draft is probably the drop dead date. But like Doran said, listen, if there's a silent agreement there, then really there's really no rush at all. It's just going to happen whenever Rodgers wants it to happen.
Ray, do you think that, with the draft obviously approaching, do you think that the Steelers want to get back into the second round and we'll figure out a way to do that?
I do, because Doran, this is being termed like a good starters draft. So it's not really elite at the top, 1 through 10. You might have Travis Hunter, who's a future All-Pro type of a guy. Few other guys like Tyler Warren could be one of the top tight ends. But this isn't a superstar class where you're going to have future All-Pros. But there's going to be starters available rounds 1 through 3. So not having that second round pick is probably eating away at them in this type of a draft. Listen, you do it because you didn't have a big time receiver last year to go with George Pickens. I understand why they did it. Now the question is, the only deal that they could make to recoup that second round pick for me is probably dealing George Pickens. There's not another move to make. So, you would be solving one problem, but really creating another. But long-term wise, I do think it makes sense, right? Because he's going into the last year of his deal, get a young receiver in there with that second-round pick. On some levels, I think it makes a lot of sense.
What about trading back out of the first round to get that second-round pick, or trading next year's picks because you have the compensatory picks for next year to get back in the second round?
Yeah, but you can't trade the compensatory picks yet. You could only trade
the actual picks.
Yeah, you can actually trade your actual draft picks now. I would be in favor of trading back. I think this is the type of draft to do it. If you pay attention to a lot of those top 50 lists, like those D tackles, sometimes they're up there in the mock drafts, but like in terms of their grades, they're kind of like that late first round, like 23 through 30 types of guys, like Harmon and Grant. They're all kind of grouped together there, like late first round talent. So if you can do it and you're still going to get your guy or one of your guys late first round, if you do trade back, yeah, go ahead, try to get a second round pick. I think it would be well worth it in this type of a draft.
Ray Fittipaldo joining us, he, of course, from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. It is the Fan Morning Show. Ray, if you were making a pie graph, right, with percentages, and you had to divvy out a percentage to each position in terms of likelihood for that 21st overall pick, would the majority of the pie be defensive line, or is there a sneaky other position where you're like, I could take up a big chunk of this thing? I don't know why I made it a pie, but I did, and I can't go back.
No, I could do that. Like I'd say like 75% D line.
Yeah.
You keep the door open for like a guy dropping, like an Ashton Genty falling. I don't see it happening, but you keep the door open for a running back, right? Keep the door open for Tyler Warren or Colston Loveland falling to you at 21. I don't think it's going to be a receiver. Quarterback, probably not, but I suppose until Rodgers signs, you have to keep it open. So, yeah, 75% D-line, and then, divvy up the rest between running back, receiver / tight end, and then quarterback.
Ray, should the Steelers use Darnell Washington for the tush push if it isn't banned?
Ooh.
Well, that's a great point, Doran, because, anytime something is tabled, that basically means it's going to stay. So I think the tush push is here to stay. And I know the Steelers voted against it, but if it's going to be a play in the NFL, you got to adapt and you got to use it to your advantage. I mean, put Darnell Washington in motion, have him push, bring an offensive tackle in and have him push. I mean, if it's going to be a legal play, you got to jump on board and take advantage of it. I know the Eagles practice it a lot. That's why they're really good at it. I think the Steelers and a lot of other teams are going to say, hey, let's practice this. And we may not like it. It might put some of our players in harm's way, but when it's late fourth quarter and we need half a yard, we're going to use it.
I can see it now, guys. Mason Rudolph, get ready to learn tush push, baby. Because they lost a quarterback for 6 weeks last year.
Oh, yeah, they're not doing it with Rodgers.
Blocking sled. They ain't going to do that with Rodgers. Now, you imagine Darnell Washington pushing and breaking Aaron Rodgers in half on a tush push?
I'm saying put him at quarterback.
Oh, you're saying Darnell at QB?
Yes.
And then someone's got to push him.
Motion Darnell in.
Mark Andrews does it, right?
Mark Andrews does it. The Tanyan guy does it in Green Bay. I think it's Tanyan.
Yeah. I mean, a good athletic tight end who knows how to keep his feet moving. And a lot of those tight ends are former running backs or H-backs out of college. Connor Hayward could probably do that if he's still on the roster. So, yeah, 100%. I don't know about Washington because I don't know if that guy's ever taken a snap in his life, but I'm sure other guys have, and they can do that.
Who cares? Justin Fields took a lot of snaps and had a tough time handling them.
I know one thing: whoever drafts Tyler Warren is going to adopt it.
Absolutely.
And probably be better than the Eagles, which the Eagles might actually draft Warren.
That's why if you're the Steelers, you got to keep your options open with Warren. I think that guy is such a multiple player.
Yes,
he can help you, and especially the way Arthur Smith likes to run offense. I mean, that would be a home run pick if somehow he falls. I don't think he's going to fall, but I'd do that 100%.
Would you trade up to get him?
Ooh.
Well, I mean, it's hard now. You do have those picks
pick
next year. I guess you'd have to trade like a 3 and maybe a 3 next year. But, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't rule it out, but it's tough now without that second round pick.
People are texting in some hilarious hypothetical tush-push formations. I want to keep that rolling. You could text us 412-928-9370. Brought to you by Edgar Snyder & Associates, a personal injury law firm where they always say there's never a fee unless we get money for you. I got to apologize for being myopic on this thing. I've been thinking about all the different ways to stop it. You guys are dead-ass right about this. Like, you got to find a way to do it.
Yeah.
It's that effective, and it's allowed. You would be derelict of duty if you're not trying your darndest to figure that out. Because not only does it help you on fourth down, Like if you're at midfield and it's 3rd down and 2, like that's going to help you significantly. You can throw the thing 50 yards down the field, knowing that you could pick up 2.5 yards on 4th down. It's a massive arrow in your quiver.
Hey, 3rd and 2, you could run it twice, and then you could run. Did you see how the Commanders ran play action off of it in the playoff game? I mean, there's so many possibilities with that play. And listen, in terms of defending it, you really can't. Like Troy Polamalu did it a couple times, but you saw what happened with the Commanders in the playoffs, and I think it was Frankie Luavu or whatever his name is trying to stop it. I mean, it's impossible to stop, and as you guys know, if you leave your feet, you have no power. It's a nightmare.
Ray, this was wonderful. It always is. Appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, guys. See you next week.
Thanks, Ray.
See you, buddy. People are texting in, put Connor under center, have Darnell push. What's the rule? Could he pick James Conner up? Could he pick Connor Hayward up and throw him 15 yards?
I don't know.
Just shot put Connor Hayward.
I don't know. I don't think so. But what I would do is find my most athletic, biggest guy and have him take snaps and then make him the guy. Like, you just lean forward and protect the ball with 2 hands. Just get the snap. I would just do that.
Tackle that guy.
Yeah. Like Darnell Washington taking a snap and then leaning forward, he's going to get a yard.
You would think.
Does that make sense?
It makes a ton. What do you think? I'm making a face like it doesn't make sense?
Yeah. You're like, this is ridiculous.
It's not. Nothing is ridiculous.
Man, they do it with a bunch of tight ends, like even Pat Freiermuth, somebody bigger that is going to get a yard.
I'm with you.
Not a quarterback.
Right.
Not Mason.
But if it is a quarterback, it ain't going to be
DK
Rodgers.
Metcalf.
Careful. If it was Debo, maybe.
Yeah, like James Harrison. If he was a part of this team, if this was happening years ago.
Refrigerator Perry.
Yes. We'll do it with them.
Texter, I have asthma. I have shin splints. Sissy boy. This guy calls me a sissy boy every morning. Listen, pal, I had asthma. I had shin splints. Past tense.